Yes everyone, thanks for tuning into another video. As always, it's a pleasure. If you get any value from the video, please feel free to like and subscribe. And if you've got any thoughts or comments, please feel free to leave in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about my psoriatic arthritis symptoms and also the timeline. Just for anyone who may be feeling that they've got psoriatic arthritis and they're not sure, I thought it would be really helpful just for me to give a detailed description of the symptoms I started to suffer, the timeline, just so maybe if you're wondering, you might be able to relate to my symptoms and it might give you a clearer indication of what you're dealing with. So at the time of recording this, it's the beginning of 2024. I first started getting symptoms, I would say sort of in mid 2022. I was waking up and I was feeling a lot of stiffness. It wasn't anything extreme. I just kept on waking up feeling like I'd been beaten up or gone to the gym a lot. Now at the time, I was doing a lot of boxing and I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu. So I just put it down to that. But now looking back on it, I actually think that those were the first signs of my psoriatic arthritis onset. So that was sort of April, May 2022. Fast forwarding a couple of months, my left index finger started to click whenever I would flex it. It wasn't swollen, I wasn't losing any range of motion, it wasn't painful. But I just noticed every time I clicked it, moved it like this, I could feel this weird clicking sensation. And I was really confused to what it was. Anyway, so that was going on for about a month. Again, I thought that was down to jiu-jitsu. If you're not familiar with jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of grappling involved, you're holding lapels like this. And I thought maybe it was just some sort of inflammation of my finger from all the extreme gripping that I was doing. After about a month of the clicking sensation, I then started to notice I couldn't move it as much. So now I can only flex it in about that much. And it was just starting to swell a little bit. And then over the next month or so, from sort of the beginning of July to the beginning of July to the beginning of August, it was getting worse and worse. But again, I just put that down to injuries from overtraining. Then in August 2022, this is when I realized that something's definitely a bit suspicious. I woke up and I got out of bed and it felt like my feet were on fire. It felt like they'd been beaten with bamboo sticks. You know, I've had them ultrasounded and they've got plantar fasciitis. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, which essentially is when the undersides of the soles of your feet are really inflamed. But for me, it just literally came out of nowhere. One day they were fine. The next day I got up out of bed and to just stand on them was real pain, really painful. And I was like, what is going on? And then I was dealing with these symptoms up until about the end of 2022. And still I thought it was just injuries from overtraining and I thought the issues with my feet, maybe it's just sort of a coincidence. I then got this finger injected. I got it MRI'd and I had something called tenosynovitis, which is where the sheath around the tendon is inflamed. I now know that this is strongly linked with psoriatic arthritis. This is one of the symptoms. So if your digits are swelling up, it can be tenosynovitis. I got it MRI'd, it came back as tenosynovitis, then I got it injected, steroid injection by my doctor. The swelling went down, the pain went away, but I still even since then, so since the end of 2022, haven't been able to bend it in more than this. You can see, right? I mean, if I push it in, that sort of hurts. And you can see that I can't hold it in that position. I just can't. At the end of 2022, this finger then started to swell up. You can still see now it's a bit out of shape. I've, also had it injected. And that's when I realized there was something that was definitely wrong. And that's when I started to face the fact that maybe these symptoms that I'm displaying are some sort of underlying condition. I should also say that before the onset of the psoriatic arthritis, I had some mild psoriasis, really small bits. I'll just show you. For example, I've got like a tiny bit there. I've got a couple tiny bits on my elbow. Really small though, you can't notice them. My scalp is really bad. I've just had a hair transplant. That's why my hair looks a bit funny. But my scalp's always been bad and I thought that was actually just dandruff. But now looking back, I've now realized that was psoriasis. I've had the psoriasis on my scalp for many years. I got the psoriasis on my body probably a year before the onset of the psoriatic arthritis symptoms. But again, like I said, because the psoriasis hasn't covered much of my body at all, a couple bits on my elbows, a couple patches on my legs, I just didn't even really take much notice of it. So the end of 2022, when this finger started to swell, that's when I realized there's a problem. Soon after this finger swelled up, this finger started to swell up. You can see that I still can't straighten it out. It's sort of in a permanently bent position. That was in sort of February 2023. And then slowly but surely, the pain just started getting worse and worse. The stiffness started to get worse. You know, I've had problems with my shoulder where I can't sort of do any pull-ups. At the time of recording this, 1, 2, 3 fingers are swollen. I've had them all injected, and you know, this one isn't swollen anymore because I've had it injected, and I can basically put it all the way in now, but it's taken a long time, and this one still hasn't got much range. And my symptoms just slowly started to get worse and worse. The pain in my feet didn't go away. I can't do any movement where I tuck my toes under. So anything like a lunge, a walking lunge isn't possible. Just my feet just felt really inflamed the whole time. And it got to the point where in April 2023, after probably a year since I first started feeling more symptoms, the pain was just really unmanageable. Doing everything was really, really challenging. My body just felt stiff all the time. My fingers were really swollen. My feet were really hurting. I was having some pains in my back, but I actually got that MRI'd, and I don't think that was anything to do with the psoriatic arthritis, thankfully. And then in April 2023, I started to take, May 2023, sorry, I started to take oral methotrexate. April 2023, I got officially diagnosed. And I started taking methotrexate, and it definitely helped. You know, there's no doubt about it. I'm not in as much pain as I used to be. You know, obviously the swelling in my fingers didn't go down, but I could move my fingers a little bit more easily. But saying that, this finger has swollen up since I started taking methotrexate, and a couple weeks ago, this finger started giving me real problems, but it's fine now. The swelling of the fingers has always slowly progressed. I've seen some stuff where some people's fingers really swell up and they just go back to normal. For me, apart from this one the other day, that hasn't been the case. They've just sort of got worse and worse. And I started taking the oral methotrexate. It's definitely started helping. I started taking the injections in around October, November, I think. For me, it hasn't really made much difference. And then I just started Humira a week ago, and I'm very optimistic. I'm really hoping that that's gonna resolve some of the pain. So I hope that was helpful. There's probably some other symptoms that I've had, but just overall, you know, swelling of the fingers, pain in my feet, my toes swelled up as well, and just overall stiffness and pain. I've read some stuff where some people seem to be in a lot more pain than I've been, and some where some people say it's mild, you know. For me, there was no way that I could go without taking medication. I've tried many different things. I went to Thailand for some alternative healing, and different things have helped a little bit in regards to the stiffness in the body, but nothing has made the swelling in my fingers reduce, which really was my biggest concern. Same with the swelling in my toes. So that was basically the timeline of my symptoms. I just wanted to give that because, you know, if you're like me and you love Googling and you were trying to figure out what's going on, that was basically my timeline. And then since starting the methotrexate, my symptoms have definitely decreased a little bit. And I'm hoping the Humira is going to put me in remission, but we shall see. I am documenting that journey closely just to share my experience with everyone. But of course, everyone's experience from the condition itself to your response to medication is going to be very different. But I hope that gives you some insight if you're looking for it. And, you know, if you've got any questions, feel free to leave in the comment section. I'll definitely get back to you. Anyway, wherever you are, I hope you're having a peaceful day. And until next time, I'll see you then. Peace.